Have you had many problems with pests, with insects, with?
Well, the major challenge, of course, is weeds, and you know, part of the answer to the weed problems is psychological. If you if you have a mindset that any weed is bad, then you're in trouble, because that's just not going to happen.
If you look out and see the field and it's pure, clean field, then
if that's a hang-up you got, then you're just going to have to live with it, and you probably can't use this kind of system. What we have tried to do is to develop a philosophy about weeds where you keep weeds sufficiently under control so they don't interfere with the crop you're trying to raise. And there are some weeds, in fact, that are quite beneficial. Some weeds that have deep tap roots, which will bring nutrients to the surface and help to open up the soil and solve compaction problems and those kinds of things. So it's really, in one sense, making your peace with weeds. That doesn't mean that it doesn't mean, however, that that you just let weeds grow. Clearly, there are some weeds which are not beneficial that you need to do everything you possibly can to eradicate. The key to the weed control is in the crop rotation. And one of the primary things that we want to accomplish is to constantly alternate from cool weather to warm weather to hot weather plants. Because as you do, you keep changing the environment, so you don't allow a particular species of weeds to really establish themselves. I'm convinced that one of the reasons that we have come to rely so heavily on herbicides to control weeds is because we went to a monocropping system. And that meant you always have the same environment and the same weeds establish themselves, and then there's no way to deal with it but to use the herbicide. So we have found that if we get a little cooperation with the weather, that with maintaining a good crop rotation and various mechanical control systems, that you can very effectively keep weeds under control without any herbicides. The insects, part of the thing about being fortunate being in North Dakota is that a lot of insects freeze out over the winter. But again, the crop rotation goes a long way toward, because again, what you're doing is keep continually changing the environment.
So inconsistency is an advantage.
It's the diversity. Nature's, again, this is, that nature has so many things to teach us, and nature's own system, of course, is a diverse system. You never see a monoculture in nature, and that's part of her secret. And what we need to do is to try to implement that system as it fits into the agroecology of our own regions, what we're trying to accomplish. Now that doesn't mean that that's easy or that solves all the problems. We raise sunflowers, and one of the insects that's still giving us a real headache is the sunflower seed weevil. We've not found a natural predator to deal with that one. Crop rotations certainly help, but they don't solve the problem. And in a way, the sunflower seed weevil problem really is a cosmetic problem, because they really don't damage the seed a lot. The seed weevil will eat probably 10 to 20% of the meat of 4 or 5% of the seeds. But consumers, of course, don't like to have either a sunflower hull with a little hole bored in it, which means there was a seed weevil in there, or a piece of sunflower meat that has a little corner eaten out of it.
Or an apple with a wormhole in it.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's consumer education is involved here.
But we discovered an interesting thing, well, several interesting things about the seed weevil. One is that if you really understand the cycle of the seed weevil, there are, again, some management techniques you can use to help reduce the damage. And one is to seed the sunflowers earlier. Traditionally, sunflowers, I don't know why, but traditionally sunflowers are seeded in late May in North Dakota. Well, if you seed them in early May, we've discovered we can reduce our damage usually by about 50 to 60%. So that's one strategy. The other thing which we discovered last year was a very, very bad year for sunflower seed weevils. I mean, everybody was just inundated with them. And in our fields, we just decided to take the damage. Now, one of the fortunate things about the organic market is that it's a small enough market that they're able to deal with some problems that the large mass market isn't able to deal with. So in the conventional market, if you've got more than 2% seed weevil damage, you might as well go feed them to your animals, because nobody's going to want to buy them. But on the organic market, since they're dealing with a smaller quantity, they can in fact take the time. You have to take a little bit of a discount on your product, but they can take the time to clean out most of the seed weevil damaged seeds, so you can still market your product. So we just decided to live with the damage last year. Now this year, we have no seed weevil damage. And as I talk with some of the entomologists up at the university, they say that what has happened is that last year there were about 5 times as many seed weevils as there was acreage available for them to propagate in. And so they in a sense did each other in. And
So the
this
market
year,
went down for the
yeah,
seed
but
weevil.
the thing that's happened is that nature has taken care of the problem. Now if we had gone in and intervened too radically in that, we would have prevented nature actually from dealing with the problem. So again, it's another indication of that doesn't mean that a farmer can always afford to, to take the loss and let nature do its thing. But I think we need to at least keep in mind the fact that sometimes nature has systems in place that we need to cooperate with rather than interfere with, and it's part of the lesson.
We come back to the word manage.